So take it away.
Okay, thank you. I provided each of you with our schedule again, just to remind everybody of where we are. And we're trying to move ahead as purposefully but also as expeditiously as possible so that we're getting in the right time of the year for recruiting good candidates for your position. In front of you also is what I sent you electronically, the results of our meetings, which totaled 174 people, and also the online survey completed by 54 individuals. So we spent a good week here right before spring break. We were here every day and met with a lot of people in a lot of small groups. There were small groups or individuals. And what we provided you was that information. Hopefully you had a chance to look it over. But I've given you hard copies of it also. But our goal tonight at the end of the evening is for you to identify the strengths of your school district, the critical issues and needs, and then the characteristics you'd like to see in your new superintendent. And hopefully walk out of here tonight with our brochure completed so we can get going. We advertised in EdCal, which is the AXA publication, and the ad already came out. We wanted to kind of jump the gun a little bit. And it tells people to go to our website, and on the website we say we'll post the information by April 1st. I've already received a couple of phone calls of interest, and this is before people have even seen anything. Pardon?
What is this on, AXA?
AXA, EdCal, right.
Does it go on EdJoin as well?
Is that EdJoin?
No.
No, it's separate.
We can do that.
Yeah, we do, yeah. Yeah, that's separate. We do it EdJoin. And there's another, I was contacted by a national organization I'm not familiar with that saw our ad in EdCal, wanted to know if we wanted to publish it on their site, and I'm just trying to find out a little more about their site. We're also going to be sending the information out to, I believe, we're trying to get all school districts in California, all 1,100 of them. We'll get the flyers. So
we had communications with CALSA, which is the Latino Administrator Organization, and with CASA, which is the African American Administrator Organization, encouraging them to let people know for potential candidates.
Okay.
So the word gets out there, and what we want to be sure is that this brochure that I sent you, rough copies, and it was very rough, reflects you. Again, this is your search, and we want to be sure it reflects you and your school district. We learned a lot during these meetings that we had 2 weeks ago, and I think either the night you were interviewing us or our last meeting, when I talked about the process, I talked about the fact that we ask you to brainstorm the information, what you see as the critical issues in your school district and the strength and what you'd like to see in a new superintendent. And in the best of situations, there's a lot of coherence between what you indicate and what we hear out in the community and in the school district. I've mentioned that we've had a couple of times that you really couldn't recognize what the school board has indicated and what we hear from all of the stakeholders. Thankfully, that wasn't the case here. There's a lot of similarities when we went through what you brainstormed and what we heard in all of the groups. So there's a lot of commonalities. So which means that you have your finger on the pulse of this community and the school district, and you recognize the strengths that many people told us about, as well as some of the issues and real issues out there and what you'd like to see in a new superintendent. So what we'd like to do initially tonight is in the report on page, I think it's 28 or on page 28 is the original list that we have up there that you brainstormed. As a result of these surveys, do you see anything that pops up that you think needs to be added to first of all, the list of strengths? Is there something that kind of popped up and you say, gee, we didn't think of this as a strength?
I didn't see anything glaringly different than what we came
No.
up with on the list. Worded a little bit differently perhaps.
Yeah, it is worded differently.
But basically, I think everybody is looking for the same thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, which is comforting for you as well as for us.
It was, like I said, it was disappointing that only 54 people filled out the survey online. And 174 people at 31 meetings averages about 6, not so great.
You know, that's
Pretty common.
Above
par,
average.
par for the course.
Yeah.
The last time we had, it was a little larger district. I was expecting more on the survey. In fact, since we started putting this survey online with SurveyMonkey, we seemed to have had more people fill out the survey than attend our meetings. It wasn't the case here. And yet I know that everybody we talked to knew it was online, and the word really got out there about the meetings and such. So, hey, you do the best you can.
And
but,
I think the key is what you said, is that there wasn't much separation between what we thought and what the focus groups thought. So, you know, even if you view that small number as a sampling, the fact that there wasn't separation means that we're sort of on track.
definitely.
So I think the one thing though is, that came up a couple times, like transparency with the board. And one person also commented, because I read the list and then I read the other one. It's like the first call was about not having all the meetings live.
Yeah, we used to have live streaming, and someone said they're not able to live stream the meetings anymore.
I know my wife does it, but I think we missed a couple meetings maybe. I think that's what they're getting at, because.
Well, there's some meetings we didn't, he just up and,
Right, so.
he's
I mean,
gone, he's down working with.
I think that just shows that like how important that is to other people, you know?
It
And
is.
that's one thing we didn't put on there is like transparency.
So
And
would that be a characteristic?
well, it's something, it was on the.
Is it the strengths or the
second-
needs?
The needs, yeah.
Okay. So let's
So
add,
that'd be like critical
Someone
issues.
said it
Critical
was a
issue.
critical issue, that we weren't
Transparency.
being transparent because we weren't broadcasting the meetings live.
Yeah.
Or in a few cases initially,
And then I just
I
read
know.
through the thing, just whatever, but there was like transparency was something that came up. You know, that I didn't see, we had communication and stuff like that, but like that open transparency.
But then you had other people saying that they feel like this board is very transparent. So,
Well, I think it had to do with more like the meeting, like access to the meetings and
Right,
stuff.
yeah.
Like Tiff, she can't come here with the kids,
mhm.
and it would just be chaos. Maddie be running up, talking to me and stuff. So it'd be like, you know, that was a big thing for them.
okay, so making these meetings more accessible and having them online.
Yes,
Or,
and they typically are. I felt kind of defensive because I was like, I knew why they weren't. But-
What's the reason they weren't?
Well, we had,
we had to change. The person who was doing it
Ah.
left earlier than anticipated.
and then we had these special meetings, and
And
he
then
was
all
like,
this-
had vacations planned or something, so there was no one to do it.
Okay.
And then also too, it was kind of weird when we had, when we were interviewing the firms, it would be kind of weird to like live stream interviews on one day, and then you guys get to watch that, and then
Yeah.
live stream.
Yeah.
So there's a
Gee,
couple.
we didn't even think of that.
We have them doing it now, so we're good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so
Yeah.
anything on strengths to add that you, I mean, this is a good sign, you know, that you folks were really seem to have your finger on the pulse. Anything in the critical issues that you wanted to add? You've added the transparency relative to the meetings.
No, I mean, it's all the same thing.
Mhm.
I think, and then for strengths, I don't know if we said it exactly, but someone was talking about how they appreciate like the way you can go to any school and different schools have different things. And that kind of stood out to me too. I never really thought of that.
Jennifer had brought that up at the last.
The choice.
School choice?
Schools of
Yeah.
choice?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that's a big one.
I think that, we heard that.
Yeah.
It used to be you could only go to the school that was in your neighborhood,
Mhm. Yeah.
and they've changed that a bit.
think almost every group and individual with whom we met, ran out of steam much faster than you did. Your lists are longer and probably include more, so it's not surprising that there are very few things that came up in all of our other discussions that aren't on your longer list.
One of the things we talked to, most of the groups we met with, we talked about this process and that we originally met with you and had you do the same thing we're doing with them, with the exception of prioritizing. What we want to do now, before we get to the characteristics, are you satisfied with both those lists? Anything you want to add? Okay, now what we'd like to do is have, we don't want our brochure to list all of those areas, that's just overwhelming. But maybe come up with maybe 10 in each category of the most important. But like we told each of these groups, just because that doesn't become a priority doesn't mean it's not important. So they're all important because they've been identified. But I think the way we'll do this is to read the lists, and in your mind or on your paper, or just keeping in mind what your top 8 priorities are, and we'll have you vote by your priorities by raising your hand. And if one of those is overwhelmingly something you want to identify, then raise both hands. That uses 2 of your 8, okay? So that way everybody can participate. So Dave, would you read your list?
Want me to read it first?
Yeah, why don't you read it first and then we'll go back. And so in other words, when we get to something, raise your hand. You have 8 votes and you vote by raising 1 hand or 2 hands.
Can you give us a few minutes to go through the list?
Please.
Because if I vote for something and I run out of votes.
Well, that was the next point.
Right.
Remember, the very last thing on the list of strengths is school choice. If that is one of your priorities, be sure you have a vote left. One of the groups I met with, and it was maybe 10 people in the group, they exhausted all of their votes in the top half. And they said, well, let's reverse it for the next list. So we reversed it, and guess what? They had exhausted all of their,
So
there,
you
until we
want
get to
us
the top.
choose 8?
Yeah, we'll
Ish?
choose 8,
Okay.
okay?
Let me read through them. It's a great place to raise a family, a multi-generational community. The city is in the process of revitalizing. It's a growing community. Central location, including beach and mountains. City designed with families in mind. Excellent teachers. Programmatic opportunities for students, meaning in abundance. Post-graduation opportunities. Sports programs inside and outside the school district. Relationships with city governments. Parental involvement. Great principals, counselors. New athletic facilities. Technology high school brings students outside the district. Local produce, ag, farmers market, wine industry, local businesses, Chamber of Commerce, strong public safety connection, beautiful upgraded facilities, a unified board, and school choice.
Okay.
A couple of those are kind of redundant.
Like what?
Well, I mean, you have choice twice, sort of. And then there's another one you sort of have twice.
Programmatic opportunities for students and
Yeah,
school choice.
Yeah, those kind of redundant.
Well, I think the school choice is a school selection, whereas programmatic opportunities may be a variety of programs within a single site. So a lot of pathways and things that students can do. They're probably a little bit different.
So let's
can
prioritize,
combine
and
them.
then we'll see if we can combine some things when we get to
I only
it.
have 6.
So Dave's gonna read the list
I
again,
can't find any
and
more.
you vote by raising your hand, okay?
All right.
So remember, if school choice is a top priority,
What if I don't have 8?
say,
Hold on one second.
what if you don't have 8?
I only have 6.
Remember, you can vote
Vote twice.
Twice, or in one item.
Double up.
So there we go.
Okay.
Use all 8 of your votes.
So if I
We're
raise
so
the
flexible.
whole family.
Okay.
Great place to raise a family. 3. Multi-generational community. City revitalizing, growing community. 2. Central location, beach and mountains. No reference to fires, floods.
That sounds pretty
Earthquake.
City designed with families in mind, that's kind of back to the first one again. 1.
Yeah, that's the other
You
one.
might, that's another one I think you could probably, great place to raise a family.
Yeah, you
City
can,
designed with families
combine
in
those.
mind. Excellent teachers.
I'm using 2 votes.
Me too.
6. Programmatic opportunities for students.
2 votes.
4. Postgraduate opportunities. 2. Sports programs both inside and outside the school district. 1. Relationship with city governments. Parental involvement.
I'm gonna use 1
3.
vote.
1. 2. Tim went from 2 to 1. Great principals and counselors.
2 votes.
6.
I have 1 vote left.
We've been counting.
Remember, there's a live video stream. We can go back and check and see if anyone cheated.
See if I'm good at math.
New athletic facilities. 1. Technology high school brings students outside the district. 1. Local produce, ag, farmers market. Wine industry. Local businesses, Chamber of Commerce strong. Strong public safety connection. Beautiful upgraded facilities. 2. Unified board. 4. School choice. 4. I think we have 10 there.
So let's talk about this one, great place to raise a family and the city's designed with families in mind. Excellent teachers. Programmatic opportunities for students. Great principals and counselors. Unified board and school choice.
You got 4 2s. Could go from 6 to 10.
How many do you want?
Well, what?
1, 2.
We don't typically want to have more than 10.
Well, we have 6.
8 to 10, we have 6.
3, 4, 5, 6.
If we included the 4 2s, we'd have 10.
City revitalizing and growing, parental involvement, beautiful upgraded facilities,
And postgraduate opportunities.
postgraduate opportunities. Is that reflective of your school district and community?
Are you gonna prioritize them?
No, we'll list them
Okay.
in no
Alphabetical order.
particular order. Are you satisfied with that list?
Yep.
Okay. So let's do the same thing for critical issues.
I'll read through them once and then we'll go back through. Transparency.
Get 8 votes again?
Yeah,
8.
that worked out so well.
I lost my place. Oh, you just
Your
added
meetings are
transparency.
accessible, meaning they're available online. Homelessness. Cost of living. Declining enrollment. Population 1 to 1.5% each year is dropping. It's all part of that declining enrollment item. Racial, ethnic, demographic changes. Student achievement. Budget deficit. Special education costs. PERS stirs. A broad general statement about state funding.
Hey, we have parental involvement on both lists.
Well, one is,
Infrastructure for buildings needs maintenance.
I don't think it's a,
Parental involvement, even though it was a strength, is something that you're
I don't
still
think it's
seeing as a
strength.
critical issue.
It's lack.
Marketing positive district achievements and programs. Just general marketing. Majority of voters are without school children. Finding ways to share face-to-face regarding school programs. Again, that's kind of connected to marketing. Using PowerSchool more effectively as information system, student information system. Communications, generally getting information to parents. Using the retirement senior community to support the district schools, and the notion of a divided district.
I don't see use PowerSchool more effectively. Is it on the list somewhere else? I don't see it on my list. Did I miss it?
Oh, it's not there?
What was it?
The use PowerSchools
Yeah, use PowerSchool
more effectively as information system.
It's not on the list that we.
I don't think so. Do you see it?
So make sure
Oh,
you
may
know
have been.
that's there. Because
It
you
was on here.
identified it as one.
Nope, not there.
It's not here.
It's invisible
Hmm?
down here, under here.
I have a question. I think, I mean, just personally, that parental involvement should be on a critical issue rather than a strength, if we have to pick one side. And we spent a lot of time talking about lack of at our last meeting, didn't we?
Yeah. There are key parents that do tremendous job in parental involvement. But if you look at the total that are participating versus the total parents we have, it's a strength that we have key community people that give a lot of their time. And I think on a critical side, it's issue that achievement will increase if their parents participate more.
Is there a way we could more narrowly define the parental involvement by key participants? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, there's people that,
Do
there's-
show up for everything and do everything.
Yeah, right. I mean, those people are very valuable in our district. I mean, so we have,
Expand parental involvement in small bites.
Right.
you have key stakeholders, you have key dedicated stakeholders, would be another way to say parental involvement, yeah.
So you're saying what?
I would say key or dedicated key stakeholders, or stakeholders, however you want to, that's just one way of saying it.
Okay. So it's a small but dedicated group.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
When you say like passionate parents, like there's, a group of parents, and it's like go to something and it's like not just the parents, but like the grandparent, like the whole family is there, and there's like the same, you see the same people over and over again doing a lot of work.
I guess I would think that if you feel that they make a profound difference in the quality of the district, those few people, that's clearly a strength.
Right.
That helps you.
to the
build what you
district,
have.
but not to the
now-
total individual achievement of all students. I mean, they help.
And so it can both be a strength
Right.
as well as a
Right.
critical issue. Okay, so let's say you have 8 votes. You can use both hands for 2.
All right, transparency, meetings are accessible. 1, 2, 3. Homelessness. No. Cost of living. 5. Declining enrollment. 4. Racial and ethnic demographic changes. 3. Student achievement. 5.
And 1.
Yeah, I got it. Budget deficit.
That could be moved
4.
pretty soon, hopefully.
Special ed costs. 2. PERS stirs. 1. State funding. 1. Infrastructure, building needs, needing maintenance. 2. Expanding parental involvement, particularly with students.
2.
5. Marketing positive district achievements and programs. 2. Majority of voters without school children. Finding ways to share face-to-face regarding school programs. It's a kind of a marketing. There are 2 or 3 of those that have a marketing focus. Using Power School more effectively. 1. Communications, getting information to parents. 2. Using retirement and senior community to better support district schools. And a divided district. Okay?
So, if you have the cost of living in your area, declining enrollment,
Yeah.
student achievement, budget deficit, which is, some of these are, special ed helps to create that, the PERSTers does, state funding. Expanding parental involvement, transparency
Take the
of
2
your board
threes.
meetings.
Yeah, there's another one. Racial, ethnic, demographic changes.
Racial, ethnic, demographics.
7.
So what you've identified as your greatest critical issue, transparency of your board meetings, cost of living, declining enrollment, racial and ethnic demographic changes, student achievement, budget deficit, parental involvement. So on either of those lists, does anybody want to advocate for anything else? Feel strongly about something that was left off?
No, but I'm gonna give, my extra vote's gonna go towards marketing positive. Under the 5.
You kept one vote. Very clever.
Okay, now we have 8.
Now we have another one.
You can almost combine marketing with communication. Because, because you're providing, information about positive things that the district
I
offers
thought
and does.
communication was in-house and marketing is out-house, or that's the wrong term.
Well, I don't know, but as you communicate, you can provide, marketing information to parents. Because if I'm going from elementary to middle school, or middle school to high school, just if you're not aware and you're in your own little bubble type of thing, so.
What we heard out there with the marketing was getting the community to know about all the good things, positive things that are happening in your school district. We heard the communicate issue or a personality or whatever.
Because communication is serving the existing population and marketing is trying to expand the population, right?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think, I live in a neighborhood where there's a lot of retired people, and unless they have grandkids or kids, don't want to be blunt, but a lot of them don't give a damn. Some do, that are attached to the community, but others that aren't,
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, talking to my daughter's 29, and my grandkids are in the district. And her friends, they don't know anything about the Excel program. They don't know anything about the new Pathways program.
Right.
They don't know anything about anything. And they're insulated at each school site, and there's not a sharing of information. So whether it's lack of communication, whether we're not using Power Schools to its full ability, I don't know, but I think it needs to be explored.
Yeah.
How old are they,
Who?
the kids?
My grandkids are 5 and 10, and
Okay, 'cause
hers
it's very
range.
typical that they don't pay attention until it gets closer to them going to that next step.
Well,
It's
and that,
very common.
but so when they're sitting around talking to all their friends about how
Mhm.
Rancho is not a good school,
Mhm.
if the information we're getting out that we've got this new program, et cetera,
Mhm.
I think it might change the conversation. But, I mean, I've learned a lot in the last 3 months I didn't know. Not all of it's roses and sunshine, not all of it's terrible. It's kind of down the middle.
But there's a lot that they do, but it's just a matter of whether you grasp onto the information being given to you, because it's not something you think is coming.
It doesn't
It's
pertain
not,
to you.
it does,
Yeah.
exactly.
I think like too, because I personally dealt with this, well, I was supposed to go to a high school and it wasn't a good high school. So my parents were like, well, you're going to this middle school because you're gonna go to that high school. So maybe, you know, like you're saying, it's like and someone said in the thing, it's like a pathway from K through 12, kind of knowing the programs along the way.
Mhm.
And since, you know, we have a district where there's a lot of choices, kind of if all the parents kind of knew, even like on the first day of school, they got a thing and it had a bunch of different programs at the different schools, you know, they might choose,
If
you
you
know,
caught 'em
next
earlier.
year. Yeah, they might kind of like, oh, you know what, like, that's cool, because I know my parents I went to, you know, a different school, so just because it's like you're not going to that high school, you might as well start going to that middle school, so
Well, you
have
could read that in the
friends.
survey too, where people, you know, bad-mouthing tech middle school and saying, if my kid doesn't get into Excel at LJ, I'm not putting him in this district. The minute that happens and they're out, you're not gonna get them back for high school.
Mhm.
So I think that we need to, well, I think it would be a good idea if we could get somebody to talk about a critical issue of how do we keep them from K through 12? Everybody loves their elementary school. I mean, I don't talk to any parents who are like, I don't like my elementary
I
school.
think it's not even just that, I think it's how do we, it's a marketing tool that we need to come up with, which they've tried to do, it's just gotta get better. And I think it's just defining what each one of the middle schools wants to be,
Well,
because I
that's
don't
what I'm
think they clearly have
wondering.
defined it.
If you've got almost 800 and something kids at LJ, or a little over, and a few hundred here, what can we change here, program-wise, to bring some programs from LJ over here that would attract more students, as
Probably
opposed to,
have to look at putting Excel here.
that's what I was saying. Because it used to be, when it was Mountain Shadows, they had 3 academies, right? I can't remember what they
So,
were all called.
One of the
It was
things that-
different.
You know, we're working towards building a brochure, but understanding what's in the brochure is important to the two of us and other partners in our group,
Right.
because much of the recruiting doesn't come from the brochure, it comes from our direct contacts. And so understanding this strength and the need to market it more effectively is something that we can combine in an
Yeah,
effective way.
I think it should be a program. It should, I mean, think of like your kids going through a program, a K through 12 program with different pathways. So it's not just like you're gonna go to this school and then you're gonna go to this school. It's like instead of going to a different school, you're going kind of a different pathway.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
think
yeah,
marketing,
Staying.
You have school
Well, that's your
choice up here,
school
but
choice,
if people
right.
don't know
yes, they don't
Correct.
know
what
the
the
path.
choices are.
Like,
Correct.
you don't even
Well,
know where you're going.
I
so-
think one of the other thing too is once we do get a new superintendent, it's about sitting down and figuring out what we want the vision for the district to be. And then it needs to be cross-marketed, not just for the parents, but for the teachers. Because they need to be able to pitch it and know what it is at each one of the sites, and they don't.
School people are not really good about promoting what they do.
They don't have a
best.
30-second
It used
elevator.
to, as
Right.
a superintendent, it used to drive me crazy. We had a lot of good things going, and I would always talk to principals about, you gotta get out there and sell your program, market it, because people don't know. They said, well, their attitude was just doing a good job is good enough. Well, it really isn't.
It's not until
There
they-
was a time that people did not have many choices in schools. You know, there weren't charter schools out there, there weren't a lot of the great variety that we have now.
And also too, I think getting to the kids, like having, like how we have, like occupation day or whatever, maybe having some of the middle schools go to the elementary schools and getting the kids excited about those schools. Cause then you get them young, or you get them to the high school, and that sticks with them, you know, you show a kid something, They're excited about it. They see these kids are cool. They go to the ranch. I want to go to the ranch. And I
We do
think-
that now with the band going to each of the sites to get them all pumped up about.
Yeah, just like
Things like that,
different programs, maybe the really cool programs that we have going, bring them to the middle school kids, or I mean, the elementary school kids, kind of getting them, like the robotics thing, you know, if you show that to, if they did that to the elementary schools, I think that would help too with like marketing. So someone who's gonna like bring all the sites together and make everyone aware of what's going on at the other sites.
Well, and we're well aware that we have a really good K through 5th retention. And then we drop off between elementary to the junior high. We lose students every year that just aren't gonna go. And then obviously they don't go on to Rancho either. That's gonna be on the characteristics of somebody who's willing to make some changes.
This is a great discussion to have with your new superintendent.
Yeah,
You know,
we're
I
trying to
was-
solve
Goal-
problems for
goal
the
setting.
future.
No, but I was even
Yeah.
thinking when you were talking about the senior citizen community. 100 years ago when I did my doctoral dissertation, I did it on effective bond campaigns. And I remember in one of the districts I was studying had a very large senior population that overwhelmingly voted for the bond issues, which is unusual. But the school district reached out to the seniors in the community. They had events for seniors. They sent their band, the high school band, out to play at the senior events. They just reached out to the senior community. So there's so much that's possible that can happen, but it takes some work and it takes some effort.
So advertising is important, and marketing, and
Yes.
communication. That's
Yes.
where we
Exactly.
started.
Yes. Okay, so are you satisfied with your list of strengths and concerns? Keeping that in mind then, what you want to find is a superintendent. You want us to recruit people who will be able, who have the characteristics to be able to build upon these strengths and make it even stronger. And address those critical issues.
Effectively address.
Pardon?
Effectively
Address, so that, Dave and I like to say, when we come back in 10 years for your next superintendent search, I'll be 100 years old, but when we come back, the next time is, hopefully, a lot of these critical issues will become strengths, and there'll be a whole new list of critical issues, because that's how you grow and get better. So when we presented to our various groups, we didn't look at this as a negative. We looked at this is where we are in March of 2019, and these are the issues that need to be addressed. So keeping in mind, building on the strengths and address these issues, Dave's going to read the characteristics that you came up with at our last meeting.
You want to increase the number of votes, there are 24 items here.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Okay.
While I'm reading.
And think as he reads through, is there something that you might want to add to that list of characteristics?
Leadership with a vision, K-12 vision, a background in curriculum, a focus on improving academic achievement for all students, someone who embraces diversity and is comfortable with diversity, has interpersonal skills. Actually, as I look at these, it's 127. Communications to everyone, flexibility, a good sense of humor, prioritizing and organizing skill, is a good listener, she. Set bold goals, be specific and have them be achievable. Needs to be an effective marketer. A commitment to stay 5+ years. A team player. Someone who can develop employees. Humble, supports all staff. Has a unifying capability, both with the board and the community. Transparent leadership, a good strategic planner, presentable, preferred bilingual, open-minded, honest, focus on integrity, has backbone, quick to acknowledge mistakes, comes from a perspective of shared power, is available, kind of open door, has a positive mindset, and is trusting and trustful.
Is there anything missing from that list?
You
So
know,
not
but
24, 28.
can we pick 10,
Well,
top 10, instead
Well,
of 8?
let's negotiate.
Well, some of the, like, you know, when you're going through these, we
Yeah.
can combine.
Yeah,
You know,
that's what-
There's 4 or 5 of these that mean the same thing.
right.
So
And
let's see how you vote, yeah.
I wanna,
How many
did
gonna
you,
vote?
do you have that thing I sent you?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay,
Okay.
cause,
Well,
I listened, huh? I listened to, the results of the stakeholder meetings and the surveys 4 times with voiceover. Then my assistant went over it twice with me, and exactly what Lev said, it seemed like, it was clear there was unity in terms of identifying somebody who is a uniter and somebody who is a consensus builder. A uniter and a visionary. And so like, in working with my assistant, I tried to glop those all together in 2 blurbs. And I don't know what the format for your brochure is, but, you know, I think I did a pretty good job with my assistant and, you know, grouping things together in those 2 phrases.
Yeah, Tim sent to me today, 2.
I didn't memorize them.
I'll read them after we prioritize.
Well worded.
Because what we want to do is come out of this meeting with
Yeah.
these kind of statements. They were really very well written. And that would be our goal.
Right.
So let's kind of prioritize first, and then
Okay.
I'll use these as
So
examples.
can we pick 10 since there's 27?
Okay.
Thank you. I'm not a good negotiator. You caved on the second one.
Oh, shoot. 9. Take 10, and you can vote twice.
All right, leadership with a vision.
That's 2.
4. Background and curriculum.
What happened to K-12 vision?
Well, we had kind of combined that together, a leadership with a vision that has a K-12 focus.
Okay.
Well,
that
then,
add?
start over.
Okay, leadership with a vision that adds a K-12
Focus.
4.
Okay.
Did you vote on that originally, Tim?
I think
No, I voted
You voted twice,
twice.
so it's really 6. Okay. Background and curriculum, 2. Willingness or a focus on improving academic achievement for all students, 3. Embraces diversity, comfortable with diversity, 2. Interpersonal skills, 1. Communications, everyone, 2. Flexibility, sense of humor. And I think, just to add, as we told groups, as they were going through this prioritizing exercise, that because you don't vote on it doesn't mean you don't think it's important. And we will have these that
Well, they're
are
all important.
back and call to make sure that people know they were identified.
As an example, just because there's only 1 vote for interpersonal skills, that doesn't mean it's not important.
All right, prioritizing organizing skill, 1. Good listener, 2. Willing to set bold goals, be specific and achievable, 1. Marketer, can help sell the schools, 1. Team player, commitment to stay at 5 years or more, 1. A team player, 2. Can develop employees, 2. Humble, supports all staff, 2. Has a unifying capability with the board and the community, 5. Transparent leadership, 2. A good strategic planner, 1. Presentable, preferred bilingual Spanish, 3. Open-minded, honest, integrity, 3. Backbone, quick to acknowledge mistakes, 1. Trusting, trustful. Positive mindset, 1. Available, 1.
So, leadership with a vision, with a K-12 focus. Someone who can improve academic achievement for all students, someone who has the ability to do that.
Preferred bilingual Spanish? Oh, yes.
So a unifier, prefer bilingual, honest, has integrity.
Are honest and integrity on the same?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were listed
They
together.
were listed together.
Okay.
So let's advocate for,
1, 2, 3.
we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So pick up all the 2s, we should have 10, right? Oh,
Well, let's look, embraces diversity, good communicator, a good listener, which is, a good communicator is a listener, right? A team player, someone who can develop employees.
I think those two are like the same.
So what?
Someone's gonna develop employees, also is gonna support the staff.
Yeah. The next two can develop employees and supports all staff, humble. Might be able to combine those two.
Transparent?
I think it's like, that can go with like honest and integrity and transparent. Those are all kinda like the same thing.
You have 3 of those. You can just add that one there.
Where's, oh, right up,
Well,
transparent,
Here.
goes,
and honesty. It's not a new one, it just adds
got it.
strength to the
Yeah.
transparent,
So
open,
you're looking
honest.
for somebody who has leadership with a vision, a background in curriculum, someone who can improve academic achievement for all students, which is, probably goes together with that one, right? Embraces diversity and is comfortable with it. Good communicator, which includes being a good listener. Team player, someone who can develop employees and supports all staff. Someone who has the ability to unify board and community. Transparent leadership. Preferred bilingual and honest, someone who's honest and has integrity.
I think you'd also do, embraces comfortable with diversity, and then like preferred, bilingual.
And this goes,
Heather, yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying like, you could probably make those kinda one thing, like
Right, yeah,
someone who's,
diversity and bilingual.
cause you can just get someone who's bilingual, but they might not be, that just might be a necessity
Right.
or another degree for them.
Could you please read the ones that did make the cut?
did make it,
Did not.
did not.
Interpersonal skills, flexibility, sense of humor, prioritizing and organizing skill, willing to set bold goals, be specific, and have them be achievable, commitment to stay 5+ years, a good strategic planner, quick to acknowledge mistakes, backbone, presentable, trusting, trustful, positive mindset, available.
Those are all important.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, we want all that,
Yes, you did.
yeah.
So are you comfortable with that list?
Mhm.
And again, as we do our recruiting, we have the full list. We know what all these items are.
There's nothing worse than trying to wordsmith with a committee, but this is what I'd suggest, because we really like to walk out of here with a brochure tonight, is with the strengths and critical issues, you depend upon Dave and I to put the words to those items. But with the characteristics, I'd like us to walk out tonight with your wording for it. And here's an example. Tim sent this to me. He said, a uniter who listens to and respects the ideas and opinions of all stakeholders in building consensus on critical issues. And a visionary who enables transparent and collaborative decision-making to achieve broadly supported long-range goals. That captures a lot
Yeah.
of what you identified. So let's do some wordsmanship. Maybe we can do it over there. Would you like? We're right, Tim's up there.
You guys got some new pens.
Pardon?
So you guys got some new pens.
Yeah.
Took them out of the kindergarten class.
No,
Still,
I went to Rayleigh's actually.
Oh, okay. In the kindergarten section.
Yeah.
They used to have a really good section there till they remodeled and it's slim pickings.
Yeah.
It seems so
And
cheesy.
these lists do vary, obviously, depending upon what school district we've been working in. You know, and there's some things that you list as a critical issue and some other district would think, what? And that's fine. And sometimes things like honesty and all of that, you know, it's a matter of fact. But there's reasons why these items appear on the list and why they're distinct with different school districts. So what we'll do is we will put these in some kind of order and these in some kind of order. And the wording will be real simple, but the characteristics are really coming from you and want your language. We give you all kinds of suggestions and advice up to when you interview 6 or 7 people. And when one of you asks us, well, who would you recommend? We say, we don't, because you have to live with that person, you know, and you have to feel comfortable with whoever that person is.
I do have a question.
Yes.
So where we have bilingual on there, does that make it, where they have to really be
No.
bilingual to, okay, that's why.
It will tend to limit some people.
Because it was only mentioned one time in this whole survey,
Oh, really?
yes.
It does limit. Some people say, they're looking for a bilingual. Actually, and there are not that many out there, actually.
Right, that's why I
So
don't
some
want to
people
limit the
will choose not to apply.
You can say preferred.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
Being that they got
almost 50%
50%
of our population.
is
It's,
Hispanic.
yeah,
But it's not.
it's your
growing.
largest.
It grows a little bit every year.
And most school districts in California are now looking for bilingual people, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, there are not too many of them.
But it's not their only language,
Mhm.
so.
So while Dave is writing that, think of which areas here are embodied in those statements. And those are Tim's ideas, and everybody has to feel comfortable with it. But they're really well written.
I just kept hearing over and over, listening to the results, that we want somebody to bring us together, but bring us together for what? And that's where the vision comes in, and people kept repeating, we want somebody who has a vision, who will lead us or guide us. You know, so we don't want to bring us together for nothing. I mean,
Can we change the wording on this a bit to be less? It sounds very, I'm trying to think of the word, very canned, it doesn't
Thanks.
sound very friendly. You know
Thanks.
what I mean?
Thank you.
You know what, I didn't mean,
It's too sophisticated.
it's kind of very formal, I guess, if we're looking maybe for something a little more welcoming as opposed to, I mean, how many times in a day do you hear people talk about collaborative and like the same words? Can we find some other words to use that mean
But
the
I
same
think
thing?
you know, one thing you learn in rhetoric or a lot of professions is, a writer, you have to know your audience. Remember who our audience is. These are sophisticated, well-educated, professional superintendents. So,
Aspiring superintendent.
yeah, and aspiring superintendents. So that's the audience, you know. You have to focus on your audience.
You don't want to just change it to say walks on water?
Yeah,
What if you said you want a uniter, you want someone who listens to and respects the ideas and opinions of others. And,
Let's
is
stop
able
with
to
it.
build consensus.
Well, you're not gonna be able, you got a community of 40,000 people, I don't know how much consensus building, we're gonna get some. But I think it's a very broad statement to say all stakeholders and building consensus on critical issues. Whose critical issues? Our group says one thing, parents may say another, teachers may say another. So I'm just thinking if we could be a little less formal, the wording's fine.
what do you mean by
the whole point is to listen and respect to everyone. So even if it's a small group or a group that hasn't really spoken up,
yeah,
if they start to speak up, you're not gonna be like, well, you haven't been to any of the meetings, I haven't heard about you and whatever. It's about listening to everyone and of all the stakeholders, every single person, making sure everyone, they are a stakeholder regardless of
right.
what they do or
Which
how they're in this
stakeholders aren't
community.
important, you know?
Yeah,
I mean, when we met twice in the special education committee, we had stakeholders from almost every area, and the interim superintendent, Tony, and the director, Rachel, of special education, respected and listened to all the stakeholders, and we have momentum going forward. If you're, which stakeholders do you not want to listen to?
yeah, and
Yeah.
and also if there's someone that's not being involved in community, and then the first time they get involved or start to get involved, and they're not really taken seriously or
Yeah.
respected or listened to,
Then they're
how are
gone.
we gonna get? And then
Right.
that gets back to other people, you
Yep.
know, like why they don't even listen. Like I went to one meeting and
Mhm.
I said my thing, and it took a lot for me to get up there, and then I wasn't even respected. So I think that's super, super important.
Yes, I agree.
Really, a good leader listens to everyone,
Mhm.
involves people, makes them feel they've been listened to. And at the end of the process, if he or she's been effective, even if the decision is not the one they support, gee, I was listened to, and I was
Mhm.
respected,
Right.
and I'm gonna participate in the future.
And then the
That's what a
consensus,
good leader does.
consensus on critical issues, I think that's really important, just, and maybe, you know, I don't think it has to be everyone agrees or bring
No,
everyone together
that's
on
not
it,
what
but
consensus
it's,
is.
I know what I'm saying. Make everyone feel informed
Yes,
and give them a very clear, straightforward reason why the choice is being made the way it's being made.
yeah.
So you're listening to everyone, you're taking the input, and you're giving a really thought-out reason why you're doing what you're doing. Because sometimes there's really hard choices and people, their
Yeah.
emotions are in it. But if they're respected and explained to you, like, hey, this is why we're doing it, because of this.
Exactly. So consensus doesn't mean 100% agreement. It means that people felt respected and listened to, and so at the end of the day, they can say, well, I don't agree with this decision, but I'm going to support it because we all had a voice in the process.
And there's other things, not just what
Right.
your thoughts are. There's other
Yes.
people. There's other issues.
I don't know, this, a visionary.
Is it really bringing up
like-
the main key items that we have on our list?
I think so, I think it's.
Say again?
I said, is it really bringing up the main key items that is on our list
Well, leadership with a vision.
for K-12? So does it say anything in there regarding,
He put it down, he changed the wording down there.
I just added K-12 here.
okay, because I can't really see it what, no, meaning the board itself.
She can't see the board.
I can't see the
Could you
board
turn
through
it a
here.
little bit?
Thank you.
Yeah, so basically, Jennifer, it's taking those that we chose and using those characteristics to create bullet points, basically.
Okay, let's approach it this way. Let's start with leadership with a K-12 vision.
That's really important.
How do you want to state that? Leadership with a K-12 vision.
How about that?
Leadership with a K-12
Exactly
vision.
that.
Okay.
And then if you want to tack on to that, you know,
So let's say.
you know, I mean, then you could tack on leadership with a K-12 vision that respects the ideas of all stakeholders.
That's good
Mhm.
and simple and concise.
Us accountants like everything just, you know.
What do you, Carissa,
Simple,
what do you
but-
mean by formal? I don't understand what you mean by formal.
It's just, it's a formal statement as
But
opposed
how are
to
you
kind of-
defining formal?
It just sounds formal to me. It sounds very rigid. It doesn't sound welcoming and open, and it just sounds formal.
But
I mean, maybe there's a better
I-
word.
Well,
than
okay,
I don't
well,
understand
let me
what
say,
you mean.
you're an English person, you're a writer, you write with content.
Yeah, and
And
I want to know definitions of the
Okay,
words.
okay, but I mean,
Yeah.
so it's broad,
Broad is
and-
different than formal.
okay, but I mean, it's got a lot to it.
Anyway, so.
And I think another perspective is a, you know, a visionary for, what would it be?
And I think too, it's like
Leadership with K-12
if we
vision.
list like the strengths and issues are like very small, like boom, 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 and then it gets the characteristics, it's gonna, I don't think it's gonna go well together on the brochure. If we're listing all these strengths and critical issues, kind of like listing them and, you know, adding some words and making it, you know, a little nicer statements. And then we go to characteristics, and then it's just like someone else totally wrote this thing. It's like, you know, way more wordy, way more, you know, it should all be the same. The wording, however it's written, should all, like, one person wrote it, and it
I
should
just
all
think it should be a
make
little more
sense.
down to earth as opposed to.
These will be very succinct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
So-
think
but
the
I can see what
characteristics
Joe's- yeah,
are
I
very,
can see
should be
what
very
Joe's
succinct.
saying.
If we're gonna be succinct with the strengths and critical issues, then when it comes to the characteristics, it should be very simple. I mean, the things that we're saying are, you know, we want someone to be humble and supportive of staff that can develop employees, you know?
Well, just to argue my case a little more, if you list a bunch of bullet points, you're listing qualities and characteristics we're looking for in a superintendent by bullet points. And this is where I would take issue with the issue of not being down to earth or being formal, is you're not really saying who is the person, the actual human being that we're looking for. You're just, you know, anyone. I would say that 100% of the applicants could say, I'm for these I can meet these bullet points. But if you say, this is the person, we want a visionary, we want a uniter, then you're like getting across the core person that you're looking for. If you just list a bunch of bullet points that have no character in terms of the statement, 100% of the candidates said, yep.
Well,
I
we
can
could say
meet them
the
all.
same about the strengths and critical issues, and we
Yeah.
should get elaborate on the strengths and critical issues, because then you could just say, yeah, these are strengths of a school district, and these are critical issues of the school district.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of like the overall product when it's done, what it's gonna look like, how
Yeah.
you're gonna, it's
Right.
like the marketability of it. If you're gonna have something that's this way, then all of a sudden it's like this, it should be the same. So if we're gonna use that type of language and wording, we should do that, the strengths and weaknesses.
Mhm.
It should look the same.
Well,
And that,
yeah.
I
that's
like
just like,
that.
I think that's just like a formatting.
Who
of-
gave the leadership with the K-12 vision that respects the opinions of all stakeholders is pretty basic and simple.
But there's one word in there that you could expand on, that, you know, to be an effective leader and to have effective leadership, you need a uniter.
Yeah.
You need,
Mhm.
you know, someone that's forward-thinking.
Right.
That leader has all the characteristics. If you don't have all those characteristics, you're not gonna be an effective leader.
Right.
So,
Well, then change that to say a uniter with the K-12 vision that respects the opinions of all stakeholders. and just make it
And also
similar.
too, it's like K-12 vision. It's like,
Yeah.
we've had this discussion, what we're talking about, but someone reading it, it's like,
It's not gonna
do
be-
they really know? Like, oh yeah, your district's a K through 12. I work in a K through 12 district. Like, what do, like, as someone who hasn't been a part of these discussions, how do we convey what we're saying to them in that sentence? Because to me, I could just read that and say, yeah, you guys are kindergarten through 12th grade. I work in that type of district. Some
No,
districts.
applicants will understand that that means you're looking for someone with a K-12
Wide range.
perspective, experience in that area with,
But we're not, we're
Comprehensive.
talking about someone who's gonna start at the school at 12th grade and go through all that it's not just like a K through 12 district, but it's a path K through 12. You know, it's not just
Where's the
we're a
K-12
K
vision?
through 12 district, but we
What's the
want
K-
people to, it's more like going back maybe to the marketing or the way you're thinking about our district. Not, you have great elementary schools, and then if you wanna go to this high school, go to this middle school, type thing.
You know, as I'm listening to this, I think one thing you need is a uniter. And it's not just on a K-12 vision. There's all kinds of issues.
Yes.
You also need someone who has a K-12 vision. It's a separate item. And respects the opinion of all stakeholders, whether it's about a K-12 vision or not. I see that you have three distinct.
Mhm.
And
Characteristics.
stakeholders can be employees, community people,
Mhm.
Students.
everyone that you deal with.
So would you be satisfied if we have 1, 2, 3 areas here
Mhm.
as distinct
That works.
characteristics?
So you've got,
So we have a uniter, someone who has leadership with the K-12 vision, and a leader who respects the opinion of all stakeholders. And has that addressed?
I think that addressed the 10 choices on our list. Go through, can you read the 10
Yeah.
we chose?
Leadership with a vision,
Okay.
K-12 vision. A background in curriculum, we don't have that up there yet.
But a curriculum, that's gonna help your K-12 vision.
Mhm.
Well,
Right.
I think I think curriculum's different though, because I think curriculum is like the actual content of what they're doing, the actual, what they're gonna be learning in the classrooms. And, I think the K-12 vision is just keeping them in the district and moving them along.
It's a background in curriculum who can improve the academic achievement of all students.
That's gonna be a big thing for us.
Embraces diversity and comfortable with diversity. Has communication skills and is a good listener. A team player. Someone who can develop employees who supports all staff members. Is a unifier, board and community. Transparent leadership style. Preferred bilingual, has honesty and integrity. So what do we have? We can knock off the leadership with a vision, right? How do you want to state the background in curriculum?
He's got background in curriculum focused on improving academic achievement for all students. It's pretty
I
covered.
think that kind of
Both.
covers those two.
Yeah.
And you'd like to add academic achievement?
So that covers background in curriculum and improved academic achievement, right?
Yeah.
For all students. We want someone who embraces and is comfortable with diversity. That's a pretty simple statement. Embraces and is comfortable with diversity. communication skills, and listens to all stakeholders?
So now we have stakeholders on there twice. I mean, you need an effective listener and an effective communicator.
Okay, effective listener and effective communicator. Someone who's a team player.
That's so,
How do
Sure.
we,
If you're an effective listener
does
and
that mean?
communicator, you should be a team player.
yeah.
okay, so leave that one alone?
Tough to be a uniter if you're not a team player.
Yeah.
You just.
A lot of those are embedded in that, you know,
Okay, so that's.
that leader, you know, all those, the characteristics that make a good leader.
Should you have an effective listener, communicator, and marketer?
Say again?
Effective listener, communicator, and marketer. Because you're communicating all things.
Yeah, because all those go into communication. Yeah.
Where are we at?
Someone who can develop and support all staff members.
That kept coming up over and over, to be supportive of staff.
Yeah, I think there's two things too. It's like, I think it's like, comes down like making sure everyone knows that you're on their side and
Yeah.
having their back. And then also it's developing the people, you know, with training or, you know, different things like that, you know, because you can just do your job, but if someone's not gonna be there, a good leader's not gonna be there to help make, you know, show them more of their potential.
Yeah,
You know, so there's certain people that bring that out in people.
yeah, that bring out the,
Because you can do a great
qualities that
job and
people
great
have,
staff, but
right.
then there's some people who don't know how to tap into that potential.
and you can't do that without listening.
That's there. Got that one.
Unifying
Mm-hmm.
capability, do we have that?
Yeah.
Okay, transparent leadership?
I think we have something on the first page.
Yes, it's on there. It's on there. Transparent's on there.
Is it?
Yep.
I can't see.
A K through
Oh,
12
visionary enables
visionary
transparent and collaborative decision making.
Yeah, but we decided to
You delete that.
scrap that and move it down to the other language.
What?
We've got a unifier down there and I can't see, sorry.
Yeah, I got it.
What is the transparent
Yeah.
and collaborative leader?
A visionary who enables transparent and collaborative decision-making to achieve broadly
I
supported.
thought we already had transparent, moved that down. Well, we're gonna put a uniter with the K-12 vision that respects the opinions of all stakeholders. And then where's did we put transparency on the next page?
No, it's here.
How many sections do we have now?
Well, it's.
I mean, you could even in front of leadership, you could put a transparent and collaborative leader with a K-12 vision.
Yeah, you could do that.
Or now, okay.
How many sections are there? Is this like one paragraph?
No, these are like bullet.
How many,
points.
oh, but how many are there?
Well, I think we've got
1, 2, 3.
three.
We have a 6 or 7 now.
6 or 7?
Yeah.
Yeah, is this one?
Oh, that is one. Yeah, that's 4. And then 5, 6,
I think
7.
we're stressing over the, you know, the
Can you
thing.
go
I think
back
it's
to
when
the-
we go through the interview process,
So
that's when
go-
you
Go
can
back to
really
the beginning.
see if they have.
Yes, definitely.
So
have-
the
have these
uniter
characteristics.
word got moved to 2, so that whole
But we
top
won't
one
have
is
to
gone.
say that we
gone.
misrepresented it during the interview
Those
process,
two.
because they'll know what we were looking for.
Right, but the rest of that language,
Yeah, but we're gonna have. we're
Got
gonna
it.
And then we
have to
said a
interview them.
leader with
yes,
K-12 vision,
yes.
someone who respects the opinion of all.
Yeah, and that's up here, so it's,
Yeah.
we don't have to say
So we
it
got
twice.
But we don't want all of sentence
Yeah.
one on there,
Yeah.
because you're gonna
Like I said,
exactly
twice.
move it, okay, good. I just don't want it to be redundant, exactly.
Okay, so what do
And-
we, can you read what we have now?
And what did Left just say a minute ago? I'm sorry. I
About
missed
the
what you said.
interview process will determine a lot of this.
Okay, so what we have for Tim's purpose, for his help here. The first one is United Leader with a K,
A united leader?
no,
No, it's a uniter.
a uniter, comma,
Number 2 is a leader, although we won't know.
okay.
The next one is a leader with a K-12.
No, a
Collaborative.
transparent and collaborative leader with a K-12 vision.
We moved it around.
That's number 2. Number 3, respects the opinions of all stakeholders.
Help me with this one.
Okay, so that
That
comes
just
down to,
goes-
that comes down to number 2,
Transparent, collaborative leader, we change this from
Leader.
leadership to leader.
Yep,
with a K-12 vision. Number 3 would respect the opinions of all stakeholders. Number 4, background and curriculum focused on improving academic achievement for all students. 5, embraces and is comfortable with diversity. 6, effective listener, communicator, marketer. And number 7, can support and develop all staff.
and how many more are on the list that we didn't get?
We've combined most of them, I
Do we
think.
have transparent leadership?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep,
Do we have preferred bilingual?
Oh, wait a minute.
No.
No, we don't.
can we put that in the, didn't we have a diversity statement?
Yeah, go back to,
Strikes if we move all stakeholders.
so,
Embraces and is comfortable with diversity, we could put bilingual preferred.
Uh-huh.
right. Or bilingual plus. I don't know how,
I don't know if I'd say preferred, but bilingual. we can throw
Helpful,
something-
bilingual,
Remember, we don't want to limit
I know,
people
that's
who
what I'm
might
saying,
be
exactly. A standout
really talented, but they're not.
bilingual and discourage them from applying.
So
You know,
once-
If we don't,
Yeah,
if you
right.
leave it off, that doesn't mean that a person who applies, you won't give some extra consideration to.
Exactly,
Because they're bilingual.
yeah.
But you could limit yourself by putting it here. Some really terrific person who's not bilingual, they'd be absolutely 100% if they were bilingual, but they're only 99%.
well, she could be too, not just he.
She and.
So when you
Just
get
say-
Give them a
the
bad time.
final wording for the brochure, do
Yeah.
you run this by us for final approval?
I would hope not, but if you want us to, we will.
I think once we finish, go through and read it again.
Yeah, I'd like us to
And then we
walk
can
out of here
approve it tonight,
Oh,
so
okay,
we can get it
okay.
done.
Okay, so we'll eliminate bilingual? But
Yes.
that doesn't mean we won't look for it.
Right.
Okay, so we won't put bilingual. Honesty and integrity.
What's that language thing?
That's the one thing that's
By,
missing
what's
here.
that?
I don't know.
Well,
what-
that's
you
kind of
wanna add something
obvious.
else?
I mean, we want someone who's dishonest and not, doesn't have any integrity. It's kind of silly.
But
I
it,
think
but
we're
it's some of
good.
those things that like, a lot of these things are just should be a given. Like in any,
Common sense exists.
in any human being. But it's like, we're gonna be, like, to me, it's more like, we're not gonna we're not gonna tolerate, something, if you're not that 100% of the time, we're not gonna tolerate it. That's how I look at it. Like, this is, the whole honesty, integrity, everyone knows that, but like, that's something that we're gonna, like, hold you to and
Mm-hmm.
call you out on immediately. I don't know, that's just, because a lot of this stuff, just, if you just read it, it just sounds like kind of cliche, like all these things, like, you do this for, not even a superintendent, but any job, any person,
Just a human
any
being.
type of relationship you want to have with any person, is what you'd list.
Yeah.
So, but I think that we're saying it is like, these things, like, we're gonna hold you at a higher level on these things than in a normal situation.
Right, but if we get to the point where we're interviewing 6 candidates, and then we've made it clear we want somebody who is a uniter and knows how to make that happen, and then we interview them, and they say, and we find out from looking at their materials and through the interview process that actually they're coming from districts where there was a lot of division and no uniting, then, why did you apply? And why would the Costa Group put this forth this candidate, which I'm sure you wouldn't, if they have this background? Yeah, right.
Well, that's one of the background questions we'd ask references.
Mhm.
This person says he or she is a uniter.
Or she-
Just Google them.
Yeah, is that the case?
They're
Is it? No.
everywhere. I mean, you're gonna find 90% of the information is gonna be on the internet.
Nowadays, yeah.
It's gonna be on a Facebook page, it's gonna be on newspaper articles written.
That doesn't make it factual, though.
No, but you did. You keep digging and you keep digging.
Yeah.
And what you do, sometimes you find something on a Facebook page or somewhere in Googling, and you follow that up. And when you talk to, let's say, the union leader, this person says that she is a uniter in the district. Is that really the case? And give us examples. And the person's laughing at the other end of the line. Might be an indication that person might not be a unifier. So what Tim is saying is correct. But let's look at.
And again, it could be that one person that doesn't like them. So you just have to
Keep-
verify
yeah.
that.
They just went through a
Researching.
nasty negotiation.
Right.
So if you're let's see. Are you comfortable with this statement? Embraces and is comfortable with diversity. It's a simple statement.
Mhm.
Is comfortable with diversity a thing, or embraces and supports diversity?
What did you just say?
I don't like the word comfortable. I'm comfortable with diversity.
How about enables?
It's kind of like tolerating.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just,
Embraces, as you said?
no, I said embraces and,
Supports,
or,
sustains, or.
Embraces diversity.
okay, yeah, embraces
Well,
diversity.
I
Yeah,
think-
and then take the rest. I don't like the word comfortable either. It
I
makes
don't
it
like
sound
the word
condescending.
comfortable, but I think what it represents is somebody who just isn't saying, I embrace diversity, but somebody who actually knows how to do that. So I think that's what the word comfortable is pointing toward.
I think someone who doesn't think about diversity is someone who we want. Like,
Yeah.
not think about it into consideration, but not, someone who say, I'm comfortable with this, it's just like, it is what it is. Like, when people are talking about stuff like, well, these are the people in my house, these are my friends. I don't need to list all their labels, It's just, I think comfortable, I get what you're saying, but it's just someone who,
What about embraces diversity?
yeah.
And just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
And
it
in fact,
doesn't say anything, though.
Listener,
Or celebrates diversity.
What do you mean
Yeah.
it doesn't say anything, Tim?
It doesn't say anything because, I don't like the word comfortable, but the term implies that this person actually knows how to do this, that they have experience. It's not just words like, I embrace diversity, but no, I have experience and I have worked
Well, then you say
with diverse groups.
embraces and has experience in diversity. But to be
Yeah.
comfortable, it's
Or
like,
success in
I
diversity.
could be around a lot of situations and be comfortable, but I'm not okay with it, and I'm
Yeah.
there because I'm there. Doesn't mean I would choose to be in that position. There's a lot of stuff at work I do that I'm comfortable with, but it's not something I want my kid to be around. So,
how about embraces and has had success in diverse settings?
In diverse settings, is that what it said?
Yeah, that actually gets to concrete experience. I like that.
Yeah. Success in diverse settings, I like that too.
I can only read my writing. Okay.
Because we're going to get a lot of BS.
An effective listener, communicator, and marketer.
That's good.
Can support and develop all staff members?
Well, I don't like
I don't know
can.
about can.
I know,
I don't like can.
I don't like the word can either.
Supports,
What
It
about
supports.
will?
or just supports?
Yeah,
Supports.
that's fine. Can, but I don't have to.
Yeah. You force
I can do it today.
Okay.
Cry uncle.
So this now says a uniter, that's number one,
Right.
Mhm.
and help me.
And number two is a transparent.
Put some arrows on
Transparent,
the
leader
leader.
with a K-12 vision that respects the opinions of all.
The
No,
first
no,
one
sorry.
only says a uniter?
Transparent,
a transparent and collaborative leader with a K-12 vision.
Okay.
Does the
Three is
first,
respects.
the first blurb only says a uniter?
Yeah, because that's what we need.
Well, what is that? That doesn't say anything.
It says we need a person who's gonna unite the district.
But you have to, yeah, you have to
We have leadership in
get
the
sort of
second one.
concrete in terms
It's a
of
one-word poem.
adding stakeholders, because if you're saying a uniter, that could mean a uniter of a small group of people. If you don't qualify it with the whole community of stakeholders, then it can just be a uniter of a small group of people.
As the person is applying for the superintendent of the school district, one would assume he or she
Why?
would understand that it's a uniter for the district.
Because we've had people who say they're a uniter and they're only uniting a small group of people.
So how do you want to expand that?
I think it has to be qualified by a
Do you
uniter
feel strong about that?
who listens to and respects all stakeholders, and doesn't exclude one group,
Well, we have we have listening in another section, so we're back to.
That's fine though, like, it's fine if we say it again, there's nothing wrong with
So you want
saying
to,
a few
how can we
words at the
expand
same
uniter?
time.
So what would you,
I don't want the consensus and the collaboration language. It's so
Well,
trite.
then
We
we
need
just,
to be more original than.
Okay,
doing
well, what
something
would you
like
say?
that. I would say a uniter. I am
Well,
confident that a superintendent who's applying
think-
for a job as a superintendent understands.
that's not saying
I
anything.
said like a uniter of, all stakeholders,
How
Then
about a
just say
uniter
that.
for all?
uniter for all stakeholders.
Yeah,
Yeah, and just
it needs
leave it
to
at
be
that.
qualified.
That has the capability of uniting all stakeholders.
Yes, I like that. Is that
A
too,
uniter for all.
No, what'd you say, Jennifer?
stakeholders.
I don't know, you didn't write that down?
Not
Yeah.
that fast.
No, you said it, some of
A
it is,
superintendent that.
Capability of uniting.
Yeah, capability.
Uniting all stakeholders.
yes,
the
Yeah,
superintendent.
and leave it at
okay.
that.
capability
A superintendent who has,
all stakeholders, okay?
yeah,
Yep.
that will,
That's
I'm satisfied.
a transparent leader with K-12 vision. Someone who respects the opinion of all stakeholders,
right.
has a background in curriculum focused on improving academic achievement for all students.
Mhm.
Embraces and has had success in diverse settings, effective listener, communicator, marketer, and supports and develops all staff members.
What about instead of a uniter, unifier?
I think that's what it said.
No, going back to the first one.
It said a
Capable
unifier.
of uniting.
Capable of uniting.
Unifying,
Yeah.
All stakeholders.
yeah, I think uniting is.
Okay, meeting adjourned, done.
There is a slight distinction, I thought about this, between uniter and unifier. And a unifier is somebody who unifies but doesn't necessarily listen to and respect all stakeholders because they're unifying from the top down. But a uniter is somebody who listens to and respects all stakeholders because they're sharing power. So there is that distinction.
So I think we've got
Words
six or
matter.
7 bullet points.
Okay.
Four.
Okay.
Okay, this is a rough draft.
Wait till we get to the interviews.
Not for over a month.
May,
Would you
Okay.
look at the,
no,
May
11.
2nd, yeah.
look at the first page.
Okay, so 6 weeks.
There were a few things in here that were not correct.
And-
What are we reading here?
We're reading, this is a rough draft of the electronic brochure.
Hmm.
We no longer send out like we used to do in the mail.
Okay,
It's electronic. But look at the statement on that first page. That's something that Dave and I developed from
I like
everything
that.
we
Good.
listened to. We wanted
I
to-
thought it
That's
was
good.
very
You're
good,
comfortable with it.
yes.
Have you seen that, Tim, before?
um,
I had it read it to me several
there's
times,
some language here.
unless they changed it.
No, wait, just on the,
Oh, just on that,
yeah,
okay.
just on that.
Just
Are you comfortable with that very first
Yeah,
part?
first- the very
Because that
first
statement
part.
is the first thing people are gonna see,
Yeah.
Yes.
and it says something.
But there's this district and community, there's some
We'll
things
get,
on there that are
we'll,
not
we'll get to that.
Okay.
accurate anymore.
Okay, so everybody's comfortable with that opening statement? Joe? Are you okay with that? Okay. Now, let's look at that next page, and this is from your website and all of that. We didn't create any of it, but we wanted to reflect what you want. So, go for it. Jennifer, you had something?
Well, I know this is from our own stuff, but I don't know that I would have this, has supported two parcel taxes. It just makes it sound like it's two separate.
Where are you at?
I'm on the second page. Third paragraph.
1, 2, 3.
In addition, the community has supported two parcel taxes resulting in 1.22 million per year. So it's an extension of the first parcel tax. So I don't know if that should really, to me, it sounds like it's two separate.
Can't you just say, in addition, the community has supported?
A parcel tax
Yeah.
resulting in 1.2 million per year.
Yeah, we need to change
Has
that.
supported a parcel tax
Yeah,
resulting in 1.22 million per year
That's,
through
I mean, that's
20.
just how I would,
Do you want to put the through 2025 part?
yes,
Okay.
because they need to know that it's
Are you
gonna
all
go away.
okay with that? Okay, what else on that first page?
the language that says opening schools, that's in the past. We're not opening schools
Where
today.
are we? gonna
First
see?
paragraph, creating innovative programs, opening schools. Can we take the opening schools out and just say attracting students and preparing them?
Well, didn't we open schools?
Yeah, we
Opening
did.
school.
It
Oh,
doesn't
there it is.
say
I got it.
opened,
I
it
got it.
says opening schools, as if we are opening schools.
Well, that's pretty
Okay,
nitpicky.
took that out.
Well, Mr. Wordsmith, it is what it is, right?
No, but I think that, I think putting
No, no,
in
no.
opening schools is important. You know, I
We
mean,
opened-
whether you put it in the present or the past or the future tense, I mean, that's a major
Well,
thing,
the way
talking
I
about
read it
choice.
is if I was a person, I would read it as if we are opening schools. We're not.
But you may
We
look more,
opened it,
okay.
you know.
You're in the
let's-
first paragraph? Let me see.
Yeah, that, it just, we're proud to be a district creating innovative programs, opening schools, attracting students and preparing them for college. We can say reopening schools,
Well,
but
you really could say, well,
the
we're
language
moving
sounds
tech
funny.
high,
Yeah.
which is kind of open.
We're,
It is,
growing,
Opening
offering
schools, like
choices.
starting new programs.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
good.
I would rather see it say starting new programs or something than,
but we're
We're,
opening.
but we
tech
are
high.
opening new schools.
We're opening one school.
Well, yeah, but we have opened
we're
other
opening.
ones. It's showing the character of the district in a
Versus
real
closing.
positive
in my,
way.
it's just my
But it's kind of
opinion,
weird
it's
though, like,
a misleading
like,
statement.
if you look into it, they're gonna see our enrollment's dropping,
Yeah.
and then we're saying we're opening schools.
Yeah, but that's
And we're in a
okay.
Well,
deficit,
it's the
so
same
we're,
thing, someone in
to
here.
me, it's like what the facts are.
You wanna buy
It's
this
kinda
used
like a
car,
false
too?
statement.
was
It's
this-
kinda like,
But it's
hey, we're
factually
growing, we're
true
opening schools,
that we're
but yet
opening
we're
schools.
losing students and we're at a deficit.
Well, you can have those things going on at the same time because we are opening schools.
We're transferring students from one school to another location. That's not opening a brand-new school. It's the same school, they're just moving. Anyway, I just think we're
I-
playing, I just don't think it's a factually correct statement that we're opening schools. If we could come up with some other language.
is
besides
factually correct.
opening, that would be great.
What's the other school then?
We just
We
opened
opened
Thomas-
Crane,
We opened other
Richard
schools.
Crane.
Crane University
Opened.
Elementary.
And-
That was in 2017. We're not opening, it was opened.
The
Past
point
tense.
is,
not
without
gonna
getting too
argue, I'm just
nitpicky,
getting
the
my
point is we're
2
showing
cents
this
worth.
dynamic growth.
We don't have dynamic growth, Tim. In the next sentence,
You-
we're talking
you
about.
can
But
have-
we will.
You can have two
Is
things
the
at the same
consensus
time.
here, leaving it in or leaving it?
I'd leave it in.
My consensus is we should change the wording, but I'm not gonna argue.
So you
about it.
got two, and then you got me to try to make up the decision, right?
Okay.
You're the board president.
I'm the board president?
Go ahead.
It's just one thing. How about opened?
That's what I said in the beginning, opened, past tense.
Yeah, but that's past tense, that we opened schools 30 years ago. I mean,
I think.
it doesn't show the dynamic
I think what's
nature.
more important is innovative programs, attracting students and preparing them for college and
That's why I said, can we
careers.
just take opening schools out or
Well,
change it
that's
to
leaving
open?
out a big aspect of our district. A major aspect. I mean,
So I
we,
think the vote is 3-2 to take out the word, either take out opening schools or change it to opened.
well, then you should change that to
Then
recently
we-
opened.
Let's see, Cotati Park Unified School District is proud to be a district creating innovating programs that has opened new schools.
Has recently opened new schools. Because otherwise, you're talking about 20 years ago.
Joe, are you okay with opened?
Yeah.
Okay,
Has
opened,
recently, okay,
opened. Move on.
got it.
We want to be done before tomorrow.
What else on that page?
And then you change Jennifer's suggestion for the A parcel tax?
I have, has supported a parcel tax.
Our Hispanic population is not 43, it's 47.6.
Oh.
I
It's
don't
a
know,
little bit
that's,
different.
Did you use the word Hispanic?
I took this off of, your,
It's on the
What?
district website.
Because
no, it
Hispanic,
wasn't on the website.
if you talk to Latinos,
Uh-huh.
they say, don't ever use the word Hispanic, because there's no such thing as Hispanic. It should be Latino. And I'm talking about, I'm a member of the Latino Democratic Club, and they have a big beef with school districts saying that we don't have any Latinos on our school board, and I think it's important to respect the Latino population by not using a
What are you-
term that
what are
they
you seeing in
reject.
other brochures and other
It doesn't
places?
matter. I mean,
I
you
know,
see
I
a
know,
lot of
just-
racist terms in other brochures, but we
Okay.
shouldn't use a
This is
racist
the-
term.
The
This
language.
is from our website, we know
Well,
that.
it's a
It needs
racist
some
term
work.
according to Latinos.
Are you seeing other districts do?
I've seen a combination, but it's mainly Hispanic. Mainly that goes along the lines of what the state category.
Yeah, well, I'm just
I don't
saying
think
that,
Anyone's gonna be offended if we change it to Latino.
No, I-
No,
No,
I
it
don't
won't.
either.
No.
So
It-
if
it
we
gets
wanna
the point
change it to
across.
Latino,
And if it's
change
more
it to
respectful.
Latino.
Okay, well,
And if someone
Latino.
complains, give them Tim's email.
What's that?
you can give them my address and phone number.
Okay, anything else on that page? The next page. Uh-huh.
Rancho Cotati.
And then you'll plop in.
Wait, it's
But
E?
the city of
Yeah,
Cotati
it's
is
not the
big
same
with
as
an
the city.
I,
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
and then this is
Wow.
an E.
Yes,
It's,
See,
yeah, that's what she's saying.
18.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But don't change the city below it. The city's
I'll
spelled with an
change it
I.
throughout the whole thing.
It's
It'll
only
be
the high
Cotati.
school.
Only the high school. The
It'll be
city is,
Cotati with an E. I want to be consistent.
no, don't do that.
Okay, anything else on that
And
page?
then you'll plop in our three things under these categories.
Yes,
Okay.
so,
You have, the district serves the cities of Cotati and Roanoke Park, and it's situated, and is situated.
oh, it is, thank you.
What
about Great.
Catch.
Great, that's great.
Is that something you want to sell?
I mean, behind it to put year-round school?
I would put our year-round school in there,
Richard
kind of
Crane.
like KA, yeah.
Richard Crane, year-round school?
We show
Yep.
that Thomas
Right.
Page is a K-8
Yep,
academy.
it should,
Might as well
yeah,
show that.
Is it year-round or year-around?
it's year-round,
I know.
no A.
I know.
It's a round school.
Around school.
Theater in the round.
Okay,
Yeah, let's not spend any more time on the next page.
okay, the next page is,
Skip.
okay, that's where we'll put all this good stuff in. Catch any other typos or anything?
Dave Brown, you spelled that wrong? No, I'm kidding.
How about Leffler Brown?
Yeah.
How did I do that?
I don't know, where is it in here?
Last page.
That's on the last page.
Just want to be sure I got Brown right
You
there.
got it right.
Multi-year, really? We can't just say you get 1 year, we can tie you and kick the tires.
Not if you want to get anybody to apply.
Yeah, apply,
And
yeah.
if we don't like you, you're out the door.
You're gonna,
People,
don't
people
hire
aren't,
them.
people aren't gonna come for a
You know, it
6-month
used to be that
contract.
you had to pay up to 4 years if you had a 4-year contract, and you decided after your second week that this wasn't working, you had to pay off for 4 years.
Mhm.
And now it's, say, 18 months, right? Still
Right.
18 months.
It's usually,
It's,
or 12.
I thought it's 12.
I think it's less now.
Is
They-
it?
No,
they-
you're right, it's 12, but they've changed to
It's 12,
yeah.
January last year, the year
Yeah,
before.
it's only 12.
Well, they used to have, people used to play games with that 18,
Hmm.
with that 4 years. So anything else with the brochure? You're comfortable with that?
So, college or university placement file forwarded by requested applicant or 5 letters from professional references?
Yes, some people don't have a university placement file.
Why would that be?
Some universities don't offer it anymore, actually.
But we still can find out that they really do have a degree, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that has nothing to do with it. Yeah.
They have to have their credentials from the school from which they graduated.
Yeah.
Okay, and be current.
Education departments often carry a full profile with letters of reference and background information,
Okay.
your
Yeah, this-
dissertation summary.
Yeah.
So this is the brochure that you'll.
This will be posted, and hopefully we put on the website, it'll be posted by the April 1st, but hope to do it tomorrow or the next day.
And the deadline is
The deadline
April
is
26th or
the
29th?
April 26th. So the next time, so you're okay with this, with a couple of changes?
Yeah, other than the
I got,
logo is distorted, but yeah,
Hey, I have a question about applicants.
it's just stretched.
What happens if a board member is approached by a person who wants to apply for the job? What do we do?
You should tell us,
Okay.
and they'll be disqualified.
and they'll be
It
disqualified.
says down on the bottom, it says candidates should not contact members of the school board of trustees.
So don't engage with them.
Okay,
That's really very unprofessional
Yeah.
for somebody to do that,
okay.
okay?
Unless they have an endowment of 50 million to give us or something.
Have
Then
you
we'll
been
talk
hearing
to
about
you.
the college scam?
Yeah, I just,
Yeah, can you get a better logo from the IT department?
they'll get that.
This is the one you sent
See,
me.
it should be looking more like this in color, like not stretched out, so is this?
Can you work
I'll work on it.
on that and send it back to me?
We'll
Yeah,
send
'cause
something better, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a terrible logo anyway.
Okay.
Ugly.
Okay,
So when,
so the next, we will start, we said disseminate information on April 1st, we'll do that a little earlier. And the deadline is the 26th of April. We will be screening applicants. We will bring to you on the 30th of April the application materials.
Is that a board meeting?
No,
Not a board?
no, not a board meeting. We'll ask you to do individually, go through in wherever you want to put the files, and it'll be confidential. But come in individually, and according to the Brown Act, as you all know, don't discuss it with your fellow board members.
this
No.
Brown Act?
Pardon?
I said this Brown Act?
Right, the Brown.
The Brown,
Yeah,
Brown,
that's
yeah.
right.
The
They
Brown
can
Act.
create whatever act they want.
The Brown.
Well, may I ask, so they'll be available starting the 30th, so they can all set the timeframes when they want to come in?
Right.
On the 30th?
If you'd send something
You just
out
shoot
and
us an email, what works for you.
develop a schedule.
Give us each a time
Well,
slot.
mostly, I was thinking I would set you guys up like in L1, you could read it in there by yourself, right? Do you want them to go into a separate room, obviously, and read these?
It be in, not together,
No, one, like, say Leff says, I'll come in on the 30th at 10 o'clock.
right?
So then he would go like over to L1 and read them, right?
Sure.
Wherever you place them, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, or if there's someplace closer in your office,
You're gonna have
because you'll have a whole file,
one set of them, or you're gonna have multiple sets, so,
one set.
okay, so
And
then
it has
that
to-
limits us,
Don't,
if two people want to come in at the same time, and one read over here and here with only one set.
Mindy will decide who she likes the best, and she'll settle it that way.
Okay, well, I
No,
appreciate it.
just one at a time.
Okay,
And you have several days to do that, yeah.
okay.
So help me understand, one at a time, I'll have them, I have the key, I'll have them locked, so Leff comes in on the 30th at 10 o'clock. I'll bring the applications with Leff to a secure location, and we can read them, and then we can put them back.
Yeah, and put them back. But don't take them with you. And it's confidential. Don't discuss amongst yourself or
Okay.
anyone else.
Hey, Lef, am I allowed to bring my reader, or do I have to
Yes,
Um,
he has to.
I thought you two said you were gonna read.
Well, the more I've been thinking about it, I think you need to bring your
Okay.
assistant,
All right.
okay? Because someone suggested another board member, but that would not,
No, then that.
that would not be good. And then I was
That's a
suggesting
step
that
away
either
from a Brown Act.
Dave or I could
It's like
sit
leading us
with
on
you,
the
but
cliff.
your assistant knows how
We have
to,
that relationship.
has a good relation. Just, it's confidential.
Right.
That's the issue.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, and then we'll meet again, the next time we meet will be on the 7th of May. And we'll recommend, based upon our background checks, who we think you should interview, 5 or 6 or 7.
And that's a closed session.
And that's closed session.
Right.
All of our
Where?
meetings up
On the
until.
7th?
The seventh
Yes.
is closed.
If you want us to do a compensation study, that's your choice, but we do that. We look at the districts that you compare with. Your business office probably does that, and when they do negotiations, they look at similar districts. And if you want, we'll do a compensation study. that
Yeah, why
says-
wouldn't we want you to do that?
Some districts do and some districts don't. I think it's a good service that we
Yeah,
provide.
it's a great
It
service.
gives you some parameters. And then the other dates down here for the interviews. And the goal is on the 11th of June,
May.
no, 11th of June is for you
He
to
skipped some steps.
approve. I missed a bunch of steps.
Yeah.
But the big date is, this has to be done at a regular board meeting,
Okay.
and that's why.
So you're
we have-
jumping ahead
Yeah.
to the 11th of June.
Right. But in
to-
between, where I jumped ahead
As superintendent. So we got to do the interviews on the
on the 11th,
11th,
11th.
and then do the visits in between.
do a
the site
final
visit.
interview on the 13th.
So
Pardon me?
can I ask, so I'll share with the board where the interviews will be later, so
Okay.
it remains confidential. So that's gonna be on the 11th. So we're gonna also have second interviews on the 13th.
13th. And when we meet with the board on the 7th, I'm going to suggest, which I already did,
So,
at another meeting, is that we do the second interview at somebody's home, so that it's more
Mhm.
comfortable.
No,
and
no, it's not going to be at my house.
So it's a little more comfortable, and it's more of a, it's not a formal.
I ran
Interview.
that by somebody and they said no.
you what?
I ran that by somebody and somebody said no.
She said no.
Yeah, you know, yeah.
John,
Well,
what about you? It's a Monday.
Yeah, whatever.
Can you make it? Okay.
okay,
And then,
so
yeah.
we have a closed meeting on the 7th.
Yes,
We have a closed meeting on the 11th.
yes,
We have a closed meeting on the 13th.
yes.
I need a vacation.
And what are you going to do in your spare time?
There goes the transparency, right?
This is-
And then we hope that
HR
you'll all go on a visit to
Where's
the
that?
home district,
Well,
later
the
that
site
week.
visit, we're going to where they used to work,
Or where they're currently working, yes.
Hawaii,
Yes.
right?
and that might not work depending upon logistics,
Um,
where they're from.
Abu Dhabi,
Or,
Dubai.
I mean,
Lef-
like,
Lef's
it's not
wants
like I can
Hawaii.
drive down to
Wants
Los
Hawaii.
Angeles.
He wants Hawaii.
Well, Kauai.
All right, we'll play it by ear.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, if it's down in LA,
It's a
you'll
big school
have
district.
to
in
arrange,
Kauai.
arrange something.
They got 13 students.
I have a question.
Yeah.
We're signing confidential agreements, correct? Can we have one for Jennifer as well, please? Sure. Thank you.
So with this schedule, you should have someone in place by the 1st of July. But I do want to reiterate, this has only happened once or maybe twice. We want you to be completely satisfied with your candidate, and if you're not, we'll continue the process. But it's just too important that if you're not comfortable with it, and again, we don't enter into, this is the person you should hire. We do say, these are the people you ought to interview. But, and you may agree or not agree with us on that also.
Hey,
So
Steve,
you'll give us everybody, and
That's,
then your suggestions of who we should interview.
yeah,
But one of us may say, we want to talk to person X.
yeah.
Your decision.
Okay.
And we could say, well, we looked into that person, and these are the reasons we're not
Okay.
recommending, and you say, we want to interview anyway. It's
Okay.
your call.
Okay.
but Steve, you said you wanted to time this to work toward our advantage in terms of getting a superintendent who could quit their old job and be hired by us. But is this going to be Is June actually enough time for that? I mean, are we gonna get enough applicants, given the fact that we're interviewing and so late?
I think it works. We've been on this kind of a schedule before. We would have
Yeah.
preferred to start in February, but
Right,
that didn't happen. And so that's one of the reasons our recruiting time is a little shorter than we normally do, because we want to be, and that's the reason we started advertising even before we had this meeting tonight. So we think it can work. We're going to make it work. Anything else? So this brochure will go out, and anything, any other questions?
So
Yeah.
if we were to go to EdJoin,
Yes.
and it lists like superintendent job positions, and then there's links, is this what they're gonna click on?
They,
Or is this taking them, or do they have to go to their your
They-
website to get this?
they would go to our website. Actually,
That link is on EdJoin,
Is it?
just as it is in the AXA.
Okay,
yeah, they would click on our website.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Good meeting.
Good meeting.
Thanks.
Meeting adjourned.
Can you